Imagine that as part of an authorized pen test that you are performing for our client. You have just finished running an aggressive nmap scan on a specific device on that client's network that has returned results showing it's running several services that may be susceptible to online brute force attacks. But during a pen test, maybe isn't good enough. So how can we possibly test to see if these are in fact vulnerable to brute force attacks? We can't simply just go and try to log in over and over again, right? You know, we can't SSH either and do the same thing. And we certainly can't do it, you know, admin. We just can't get in that way. So there has to be another way. And the way we're going to do that is using a tool known as Hydra. Now, real quick, before I open up Hydra and show you how to use it, I just need to throw out a quick reminder that you need permission to perform any scan or use any tool on another person's network. To do so without permission is illegal and you will get in trouble. Now, Kali Linux comes pre-loaded with a lot of tools, Hydra being one of them. If you're on another distribution, you may need to go and download it because I doubt they're going to have it preloaded. So let's assume everyone, for the purpose of this video, is on Kali Linux. What you're going to do is you're going to go to the dragon up here. You're going to go to number 5, password attacks. And we are going to go to online attacks. And we're going to start off with the Hydra graphical, with the GUI. All right, when the GUI first opens up, you'll be taken to the target tab by default. You're going to get two options. You're going to get a target list and a single target. Target list allows you to populate a file with a bunch of IP addresses that Hydra would then scan one at a time. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to use the single IP, I should say. And that's going to be the device that we were scanning at the beginning of the video with nmap, which actually, just a little background on that, that's actually a metasploitable server, which is a server that you can go out and download the virtual machine, load it into VirtualBox, put it in your virtual lab, and you can perform all your different scans against it. So it's pretty cool. And we're going to start off with FTP, but as you can see by the list here, there are a lot of options that you can use Hydra against. We're going to stick with just FTP, SSH, and HTTPS today, because that's what that metasploitable server has running. So that's why we're going to do that. And then we're going to pick port 21, and then we're going to go to the password tab. And here you get two options. Again, you got username or username list. Username, if you knew the username, you could put it in here. Username list is what I'm going to select because I've already pre-populated some username lists. And just in case you're not aware, Kali Linux comes with a bunch of preloaded password and user lists under USR share word lists. These are on all versions of Kali. The only difference is you're not going to have these two because these are the two I just created that we're going to use for this demo. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to browse to username list. And then under password list, same thing. If you knew the password, I don't know that you would ever know that, but if you did and you didn't know the username, you could try the opposite of what you normally would do. You could also generate, this is going to be a brute force, where these picking word lists are known as a dictionary attack. Generating it is known as brute force. So it's going to literally go like lowercase a, uppercase a, lowercase a, lowercase a, uppercase a, uppercase a, and on and on and on. It's going to try everything. It's really slow, takes a lot of CPU and a lot of time. I wouldn't suggest running this because chances are you'll be there longer than you're probably alive, depending on how ridiculous the password is. It could take forever. Anyway, I highly suggest you use a password list. I'm going to use the one that says try this one. And then all you're going to do is you're going to go to tuning. Tuning is the number of times it's going to attempt at once. So the threshold, or the reason behind this, is there are certain thresholds. Like you can log in 5 minutes with 5 failed attempts, and it's going to log you out for 15 minutes. That's a way to kind of fine tune that. For the FTP, I'm just going to go ahead and leave it at 16 for now. Specifics, we're not going to do anything with this at this point, and we're actually just going to go ahead and start the scan, or the attack, I should say, and let it do its thing here. And you can see it went through and it didn't find anything. Now, why didn't it find anything? We have all the password lists loaded, and I didn't select password list. Let's go back and try that again, shall we? And as you can see, it's running 16 at a time, and it already found one. And we'll just let it continue on here for a second. And there's a second one, and there's a third one. And it looks like it finally finished. Now, to verify that, Hydra is not just pulling a fast one on us, we can actually open up a terminal and we can FTP to that device, right? And we can go there, and then when it asks us, we can just go Molly. And we can say Molly. That's a really weak one, actually. As you can see, we're there. And there's not much here, but we're there. And we could exit it, and we could clear the screen, and we could try just one more, just for giggles, to verify that we're good. We'll do Fred, who likes soccer, apparently. Good man. And as you can see, it's working. All right, so that's the way you would use this to run this scan against an FTP server. I keep saying scan, this attack. I love nmap, so I have it on my mind. So anyway, let's move on to SSH, shall we? And to run on SSH, all we're going to do is we're going to go back to the target, and we're just going to change the port to 22, and we're just going to change the protocol to SSH. We shouldn't have to change anything else because we're still scanning the same device. So we're going to go SSH. Again, we're going to use the same username and password because they should be identical. If they're not, I'd be surprised. And we're just going to leave 16. You may or may not need to tune that down, but I don't think we will. And we're not going to change anything there. And we're just going to go ahead and start it. And we'll wait and see what we get. And there's Molly. So we're likely going to get all three of the same. And there's Fred. And there's Betty. All right, we'll see if it finds any other ones. I doubt it. It's performing the same user and then password list. So it should be the same. And there we go, shows completed. So just to put proof to concept here, let's go ahead and try to SSH over to one of these. And what you're going to need to do, you're going to need to add a -L and pick one of the usernames here. And let's go with Betty because we haven't used Betty yet. So we're going to go Betty, and we're going to go, and I have the package apparently, and we're going to go Jetty. As you can see, we are now on the device. And we can go up and we can see what we can do. So pretty cool, right? Pretty easy to do since, we're using, the goal here for us, since we're doing a pen test, wasn't just to get in to say, hey, we could get into your FTP server or using your FTP logger. We want to know all the services are running that, could be compromised. That way we can put it in our report. So the last thing we're going to do on this machine, and then I'll show you how to do it on a Windows machine, is target their Apache web server. So let's do that. All right, and again, we're targeting the same exact device, the Metasploitable server in my environment, so we're not going to change the IP. We do need to change the protocol from SSH down to HTTP post form. We want post, not get, because we're putting information up, not getting it down. We want to put this to port 80 for HTTP. We could show attempts. Why not do that? And then passwords, we'll go ahead and leave the same. Tuning, I dropped this down to 4. I don't think this will really matter for this specific web server because, again, it's Metasploitable. It's meant to have you try to hack it. But in a real life situation, there's going to be that account lockout after a certain amount of attempts. So I just thought we'd go with 4. And then under specific, this is going to be the only tricky part. You're going to have to figure out what this is depending on the machine you are targeting. So I know because I looked this up, we're going to be targeting this login.php. You'll need to look this up depending on each individual device. Unfortunately, there's no one-all-fits-all type of thing here. So that will be a little tricky. And then under start, we're just going to go ahead and start, but you will see the attempts because I enabled them. So you can see it's going through T-Swift, Beyonce, Snoop, Molly, and on. And eventually it's going to get down there and you can see it found one login right there, which is admin and password. So we'll let this finish and then we'll go ahead and attempt that login. So why don't we open up Firefox while that's doing and we'll multitask. So we're going to go ahead and put in the IP here. We're going to go to the DVWA, which again I was targeting, and you can actually see this is the screen I mentioned earlier under specific. So that's why I put that in there. And again, this is going to change on every single web server, so don't think you're going to put this in and it's going to work because it's not. I can tell you right now. So don't get mad at me. But it works for this. You'll need to find out your own login screen and change that variable. And then we'd go here to admin. And we're going to try password. And there you go. As you can see, I don't want to save this, but you can see we're logged into the damn vulnerable web app. Again, this whole point of this server is to be vulnerable. And they give you other options over here on things you can do. You could attempt a brute force against this URL instead of the index.php. And there's other things you can try like SQL injections and things. So it's a pretty cool server to download. So that's that. So what I want to do now is move on and let's try this against one more target. And that target is actually going to be a Windows 7 machine that's running FTP. So I'm going to change this to 2.7. I'm going to change this to FTP, and I'm going to change this to 21. And I've actually reduced down my full screen on my Kali box so I can actually show you that this is going to be an actual Windows machine. As you can see my virtual network here, and you can go right here and we can go to ipconfig, and there you go. So let's go back to our Kali box here, and we're going to go here, we're going to go here, we're going to not show attempts because that's, I don't know, it just irritates me seeing that on the screen. We're going to leave the password files the same, and we're going to tune down to, we'll leave that the same as well. The only thing else we did want to clear out was that HTTP because we're not using that. And go ahead and start. And it should be pretty quick because I use the same passwords. And there you go. I'm not very original in my labs. And there's the next one. So what we should be able to do now is FTP to that IP address and log in with Molly. But as you can see, the whole point of that, I know it's quick and dirty, was to show you that Hydra doesn't just work against Linux targets. It works against Windows. It works against, technically it would even work against like iOS or Android devices like that. It's more protocol based and security control settings based. So we're going to exit out of here. And now I want to show you how this looks in your logs. So we'll start, since we're already talking about it, we'll go over to the Windows server. All right, I meant to say Windows 7 machine. This is not a Windows server. Anyhow, for the point of this video, I want to show you the FTP log, which is right here. We're going to open it up, and let me show you what Hydra looks like in a log file. So you scroll down here, you can see all this is showing up here from our brute force attack. So if the window admin or whoever the system administrator is looking actively at their log files, they're going to pick this up right away. If they're not, this might go unnoticed forever. And the crazy thing is you go down here at the very bottom, and this would be the biggest red flag at the bottom of this whole log file, right? If I can scroll down there, it actually shows that this was successful in logging in. This is crazy, right? Because now it's showing this Linux box used Molly to successfully log in to this FTP server, where who knows what kind of nefarious things they could do from there. Now, in a perfect world, these logs would all get ingested into a SIM, and the SIM would have alerts set up for this type of thing. But you know what? Everyone doesn't have a SIM. Everyone doesn't have a budget for a SIM. So that is one way Windows servers can be checked for FTP logs. And again, there's other locations for all kinds of logs. You should always be checking out your logs. Now let's look at how it looks in the Linux servers. And to check it on the Linux servers, we're going to need to connect to the Metasploitable server because that's the machine we were playing with. So we're going to log in there. Then I'm going to su to root because Molly can't see this information. Go ahead and log in. Apparently the terminal doesn't support clear. That's fine. That's fine. We'll just go to, you're going to want to go to var log. This is kind of, well, not kind of, this is where most of the logs are stored on Linux and Unix. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to do an lsltr, find our little vsftp if we're looking for FTP. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a tail -f, and we're going to do vsftpd.log. And what the F does is it continuously shows you what's at the very end of the log. So we can see from our earlier attempts, here's the information. So let's go ahead and run this in real time and see what the log looks like. And as you can see, as we're doing it, you can see the log is filling up with all the attempted logins. That's bad news, right? And again, if you're not looking at this, you would never know. If you were, you'd be able to come back in here and say, okay, what's going on? Something's going on. Oh my goodness, someone actually logged in okay with Molly. So this would let you know that, hey, someone knows Molly's login. Molly needs to have her password changed or account locked out until you remediate that situation. So let's check out where we can see the SSH logs. And lucky for us, the SSH logs are in the same directory. So what we're going to do is we're going to do tail-f auth.log, and we're going to hit enter. And you can see it has some of the recent attempts we did there. So we'll go ahead and start it again, so I can show you what it looks like in real time. And I want to show you what it looks like when it successfully finds a username. And there you go. So let's stop it and let it do its thing here. And I went ahead and scrolled up because it took me a little while to find this in the logs. But here you can see accepted password for Molly SSH, So it can be a little hard to find. You'd probably be better off running this and like redirecting it to a text file that you could search for. You know, you could grep it or something. That might be a little more helpful. But if you just wanted to quickly at a glance go, what are my logs looking like? Oh my goodness, something's up. And then you could do some more research. So the last one I want to show you is where you can check those web server logs. And you guessed it, they're in the same area, but they're a little bit deeper. They're actually in a folder known as Apache 2. The web server is known as Apache. So the logs are in Apache 2. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to tell access.log. Pretty straightforward, right? Good name for it. And you look in here, and what we'll do is we'll clear this output. You can clearly see from earlier when we were doing it, when we were trying. But let's do it in real time because that's more fun. And we'll just go to 80. We'll change this to, there we go. All right, so I think that should be good enough just to get us some data in here. And we'll see, why is this not, oh, I need to do tail-f. What a noob. All right, and as you can see, when it's attempting to log in, it is all being logged. It even says Hydra right here. So, I mean, you could just be running, you know, a file that goes out and greps the log and looks for the word Hydra and sends you an email or sends you an alert. So that's pretty easy to find on that one too. But the key is to all logs, you actually have to check them. So with that said, I think I'm going to close out this video. So if you have enjoyed this video, please go ahead and smash that like button. Subscribe for future content. You know the deal by now. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a great rest of your day and be on the lookout for new videos.